I am your host, Vivek Mahbubani, and of course with the other co-host who is...
The other, Muhammad.
That is right, the other Muhammad. If you find the Muhammad, find the other one. That's him.
Yes.
So if people need to find out where you are, so where do they find you?
I just moved to Saimpun, so that's where I am. You just see me walking my dog around.
Yeah.
Since I moved to Saimpun, I'm basically working from home all the time because it's so lovely. Like in TST, I just used to go to the office. Chinwan was better than TST.
Yeah.
So, but Saimpun is like amazing. So I'm just working from home. So you just see me in a coffee shop with my dog the whole time. Yeah, that's where I am.
And the escalator, so the slopes aren't a problem over there, right?
Nah, yeah.
That's the best part of Saimpun. That's why mid-level Saimpun, you got the escalator, you're just like lazy.
It's very lazy.
Exactly.
But you can also find me online at the other Muhammad on Instagram. That's my main social media presence. How about you?
Me, at Funny Vivek, sometimes with letter M. You should know the drill by now. If you can't find me online, then you are using the wrong search engine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you go on Bing.com and type Vivek Mahbubani, it's like no results.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One of my buddies in Shanghai, Chris Baker, used to joke about Bing as it's like the Google of the East.
Yeah.
It's just like how useless it is.
Yeah.
It's like I got lost and luckily I had access to Bing Maps.
Yeah.
So I was still lost.
Yeah. You remain the same way. That doesn't help at all.
Yeah. Today we have a very exciting guest, one of Hong Kong, I would say, celebrities. Wearer of many hats, and not just because he's bald, but he has a lot of jobs. Ben Quinlan, how are you doing, buddy?
Very good. Nice to be on the show, guys. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah. Ben, you are a Hong Kong success story, I would say.
Well, I mean, that's all relative. I think I've done okay within the things that I'm pursuing and the industries that I'm focusing on. So it's been fun, but I think the many hats aspect has probably earmarked me a little bit differently from the standard corporate that you see in the city.
Yeah.
So hopefully a bit of a personality.
I mean, among the comedians, yes.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about your comedy. I'm talking about how well you have done in life.
Yeah.
Against all of us.
And the problem is that you're doing well in life and you're doing comedy and you're kind of stretching yourself out a lot. Yet you're funny in comedy, so everyone's like, okay, comedians, we need to step the game up.
I know.
We have no excuse. This guy's doing 20 things.
I see those freaking open micers coming in every week doing the same shit.
Yeah.
And they have like no job or whatever. And then this guy who just came from a meeting with, I don't know, Donald Trump or something.
Yeah.
And he just comes in and kills it. I'm like, what?
Yeah. What is this? This world is unfair.
Yeah. But then again, he's bald, so you know.
I guess it bounces out.
To be honest, I actually think they're highly complementary things, right? Like when I leave a boardroom and I go into the comedy stage, like handling a room in a meeting at a board is very much like comedy. It's very much read the room, get people on side, know what makes them tick, pivot when you need, make them laugh as well.
I can imagine like Ben in the boardroom going, like, hey, what do you do? What do you do?
So are you guys in a relationship?
Are you related to this company? Oh, what's the deal?
Whoa, they didn't say the same answer.
Exactly. Someone doesn't want to invest the amount you're asking for, like heckler, get this guy out. I think that could work. And then afterwards, like, oops, sorry, wrong hat, everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, good way to build relationships, sometimes bad way to win business.
Yeah.
But I remember one time I was in Singapore and I was there for a conference talking about a regulation called MiFID II. So I got up for a show at Comedy Masala and started to give my perspectives on MiFID II. and I was like, oh, sorry, wrong audience.
Did you try to reach out for that PowerPoint remote as well? Like,
muscle memory.
Slide 3.
Jokes are funny with visuals, yeah.
Exactly. The muscle memory, you're like, why am I clicking? What am I doing?
Did you have any jokes tanked during like presentations or meetings?
Oh, for sure. It happens all the time because I think in a corporate setting, people kind of sit there and go, am I supposed to? Yeah. I did a show actually night before last for a corporate crew, and they hired the top floor of the China Club, the library. Yeah. And, you know, I'm sitting there in a library with 20 banking executives.
Oh, China Club Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that have you been to that place?
I have done a private gig as well, like there a couple of months ago, but it wasn't at the same floor. It was at the restaurant. And it was really nice. I was freaked out because, you know, you belong in this world. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I can see, like, he walks in, he's got the top hat, everything.
Yeah, they also pretty much all know him already. He's like, here you go again.
Hey, Benny boy.
Yeah. But I felt so out of place when I performed there.
Yeah, look, it's totally different from getting on a stage in comedy. If you ask me, would I prefer to be at a corporate show or be at a comedy club any
for
day.
Sure.
There's no comparison.
Yeah, I mean, the only moment I like doing comedy more at a corporate gig is when I finish and I'm like, check, please. Where's my check, please? And I'm like, okay, for this, for those zeros, I'll do it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that part is really fun.
One of the jokes you do in comedy at the corporate gig is like, as a comedian, it depends, but sometimes comics charge $1,000 a minute.
Yeah.
And then I just don't say anything for a minute. I look at my watch and I go, $1,000.
That's great.
Exactly. You're like, read the fine print. Silence is part of the show.
So I would actually start with pretty much your biggest role at the moment. You're the head of the FinTech Association in Hong Kong.
Yes, I'm the chairman. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
How do people get to that? How do I apply?
How do you apply?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the FinTech Association is a community-run organization that represents all the fintechs and big banks here that are interested in digital transformation. As we all know, after COVID, people were literally forced to go digital, including every business. Financial services, no exception. So the organization started 2017. It's grown to about 1,700 members now.
Wow.
I've been on the board for about 3.5 years, and then I took up the chairman role in July of last year.
Do you get elected, or is that already not a thing here?
It was an election. So you had to get elected by the community to get on the board, and then the board elects who they want as the chairman. So the last chairman stepped down. We have 2-year terms just to ensure, a change of blood and new, fresh ideas.
Again, something on its way out very soon.
The
concept.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like I see it like a service job, right?
Yeah.
You do something good for the community. You advocate on behalf of what they need to the government. You try and shape policy. You try and deliver the things where they need to connect with investors, each other, find new business. And because it's such a new ecosystem, people do appreciate being part of that community. It's all about networking in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, it's very true. Hong Kong is all about like who knows who and who knows you kind of a deal. How long was it before someone new joined that group and like the FinTech group over there and made like a fin-related joke? Like, hey, we can have Shark's Fin today.
Yeah, well, I was actually asked to do...
That's a terrible joke. Oh my gosh.
I was just I can imagine, hey, we're going to Finland?
I think those jokes, you are coming up with them. Because like jokes that bad.
well, I actually was asked during Hong Kong FinTech Week, it's a big event, to do a comedy show by the guy who was organizing it. Yeah. And it wasn't the best show. Like, people were
Why, you're a chairman?
Yeah, because I was trying... No, not while I was chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm surprised after that they were like, oh yeah, this guy.
Let's vote for him. Let's put him back on the stage again.
Yeah.
But I mean, trying to do FinTech jokes, you have to kind of extrapolate that thinking quite wide.
Yeah.
But it was good fun. It's
I'm
a good
thinking,
way to get
what is a really dry field that you make, like mining or something?
Yeah.
Like imagine the miners associations, like, go up and make jokes about our jobs. Like, what am I supposed to talk about now?
Yeah, someone who's eating those golden chocolate coins is kind of Bitcoin. They're kind of biting the coin.
Oh my God. What is wrong with you today?
No, I'm just like, because I could just... He Bitcoin. That's what he did.
Get it?
Yeah. It's like, is this on? Because like the reason I say that is because a lot of times when you join these kinds of groups and they know that you're labeled as a comedian, don't people have this automatic assumption like, oh, okay, look at this guy, he's going to be the funny guy in the group, and they automatically, every time the meeting's boring or like they don't know what to do for the event, they're like, oh, we need some entertainment. Ben?
Yeah, partially, but I mean, my job there isn't to make people laugh all the time. It's to hopefully steer the organization in a way that people go, okay, you're adding value and not turning this into a joke. But the ability to make people laugh in a tense setting or a corporate setting is very important, right?
Yeah.
It just diffuses a hell of a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And it builds really good relationships. I find it a fantastic skill to use in the corporate environment.
Yeah.
Here's the question. What is the talk in this word about Nicole Kidman? Give us some insights from the word of people who actually control everything.
Well, celebrities, they don't get COVID. It's a known fact.
Right. Okay.
I'm taking my mask off right now. I don't need that.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of unhappy campers here. And, it actually happened before that with the financial services industry. They were trying to make exemptions for senior executives.
I read, that you can come in, do a meeting, get out, or whatever.
Look, shaping policy around that, in my view, is not very smart because it creates exceptionalism in times where that's the last thing you need. And, you can always hear contrarian arguments to it, but, if you're going to fight a pandemic in a certain way, then you need to do it in a certain way.
Well, right? I mean, I have one suggestion if they want to have that kind of regulation where, like, let's say some guy can come down for a meeting and not go under quarantine, is that every time someone does that, they got to give the whole of Hong Kong's population $5,000 each. And then boom, we were like, I want all of them coming in for meetings.
That's a pretty important meeting if they're prepared to pay that.
5,000 by 7.5 million. How much is that?
Yeah, that's
like 35 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Okay.
$37.5 million.
I think maybe we can make exceptions if you have above 100 million followers on Instagram. It's popularity contest, kind of like how Trump got elected, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
And also if we give you an exception, you have to tag us on your stories and say like Hong Kong is amazing.
So what you're trying to say is you want the Kardashians to come over.
Correct.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. There's only a few people like Cristiano Ronaldo. You don't give him quarantine. Come on, like what are you doing?
I mean, why would you?
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna kick a ball in the mini
So
hotel.
do you think there is a talk? People are upset that she got the exception and the people who were boards of banks and stuff like that didn't?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the bottom line is anything that has to do with a political, and this is my main gripe with politics right now, is I believe I'm a rational middle ground person. I'll always try and listen to both sides of the argument. And, the old traditional style of politics is what's the compromise?
Yeah.
There's no such thing anymore. It doesn't work. That's a very unpopular space to be. So you need to be left, right, yellow, blue, whatever. If you operate in the middle ground, you do not exist as a person.
Yeah,
right?
true. That always happens because people look at you, they're like, oh, you're just lazy. You don't want to pick a side. You just want to pretend to be friends with everyone, but you actually just want to be the guy who's like, I don't want to do anything. Can I just sit over here? And just
I mean, the counterpoint to that is that someone like Nuri Vitachi claims to be a middle ground person when he is extremely biased and uninformed most of the time.
Right.
But he's like, oh, I represent the middle ground people who are like, I was like, no, you're not.
Yeah, and that's
it's
why
very obvious. Like when you're asked about really simple things, like, what do you think on this matter? And you try to divert it about semantics. It's like it didn't happen this square, it happened in the street behind it, so it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, fuck off. How about that?
It doesn't count if it's on Douglas Street. It only counts if it's on like Wyndham Street.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah, well, I think even middle ground people, you can be left-leaning, right-leaning, you still have a leaning. But I think, even when I go on social media now, if I watch anything political, the next time I'm on social media, it's just going to go bang. I watch the same thing, so I keep that same mindset. It doesn't mean I have a different perspective and I need to force myself away from it. But you got to ask yourself, why are people so different? Why do we always have such different perspectives that we argue with each other? And I can't always be right? Because you talk in this context then about feelings. You can't argue facts with feelings because, a lot of people say facts don't care about your feelings, but feelings are never wrong. Because they're your feelings, right? So how can you tell someone their feelings are incorrect? So all of these discussions, I kind of, as a consultant, right? I bring every single bit of fact, data, and everything to an argument. I don't like to sit there with no information to back up what I want to say. And my job is not to force people to agree with what I think, it's to tell them a position and say, well, that's my position, right? Even if you don't like it.
I think you have another hat going on. It's called therapist. It seems like it's going like, I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but I'm just saying this is the point, and you could be more correct if you follow it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very delicate conversations, and even within my family, right? I have different perspectives with my siblings and with my parents and with my other relatives.
Yeah.
In my company, I say to my staff, "You're all entitled to think whatever you want."
Yeah.
Just don't get arrested. And don't bring a bad reputation to the company.
Right.
But your views are your views, and I respect them. Right?
And if you're not familiar with Ben's family, I highly recommend you go check out one of his shows, and you will definitely get to know at least his mom, if not his dad as well.
That's true. There is a lot of family talk there that is very entertaining. I think I met your mom once, but didn't talk to her much. But I think I know a lot about her just through watching your act.
Yeah, my dad's got off pretty lightly, so he's there's a lot on him, right? So I just need to put it together.
Speaking of, how do people find you on social media? How do we follow your shows and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Quinlan, Instagram BB Quinlan. If you're interested in reading about FinTech or financial services, you can go to quinlanandassociates.com, and then the other organization is ftahk.org for the FinTech Association.
Nice. So it's actually go to Quinlan and Associates for a bit, because you obviously own that, run that. How do you describe yourself?
Yeah,
I'm
the CEO, managing partner, and I'm the founder and owner of the company. Yeah.
Great. And this
wait, hold on. I like how you have like 5 roles in your company, Quinlan and Associates, because it's all me and you guys are just there associated with me.
I think the first suggested title was Quinlan and Helpers, but it didn't.
Quinlan and them.
This actually makes me laugh, because when I hired some new partners in, professional services firms, they're always like names. So you go to a law firm, and they were saying, well, why do you add Quinlan this, that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's take one of the biggest US law firms in the world. Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah. And I go, when has anyone else said they worked at Flom?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone works at Skadden.
Yeah.
So, and I said, we can add as many names on there as possible, but I get it.
I like Quinlan and Helpers. I think you should go with that.
Well, the reason why I called it Quinlan and Associates, guys, to be honest, Q&A, right?
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. That was that. Yeah.
Q&A with Q&A.
It was funny because it's a long website name.
Yeah.
So I was like, Q&A, no, that's bought. If you want to buy it, 100,000 US. I'm like, oh, I hate you people that buy up these domains.
Yeah.
But then I was like, how do I shorten it? Quinlan and Ass? No, that doesn't work. Quin Ass? No. So I had to stick with Quinlan.
And then BBQ?
BBQ,
yeah. And if you want to see your comedian website is BB Quinlan.
BB Quinlan. So if you want to see the last update that I did in 2017, feel free to go and...
Is that right after you won the festival?
No, that was when I started. I was a regular performer at Takeout, so the bio was really like punchy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You can see me all the time.
Yeah, you can see me all the time in Elgin Street.
If you Google BB King, the musician, and you put BB King comedy, you still won't find Ben Quinlan's website. There's no relation. I just wanted to let people know, don't try. I tried it. I'm like, I wonder, BB King. Oh, no, nothing.
BB King.
Anyway, so coming back to this thing, so I want to know how bad was the market and the finance industry that you decided I needed to put comedy in my life? Was there a moment you're like, I need to make some money, man? Let me do some comedy or something.
Comedy for me was like, people always ask me why I get into it because you spoke about my mom, right? I used to watch Russell Peters and his dad. And I go, oh, my mom is kind of like your dad, but even stranger. So I thought, well, why don't I share some stories about it? And it turns out it worked when I started to do it. For me, I was just really burnt out in the corporate workforce. I was working, 90, 100 hours a week. So I used to, last job that I was at before I got into comedy, I was minimum 2, on average 3, maybe 4 countries a week.
Yeah.
Right? Just
what?
Working those
Were you a
hours.
flight attendant?
They don't fly that much, Mo. It's strategy consultant. So the clients are always asking you to come to their site and work on site. And it was exhausting. It was like so mentally taxing that I actually broke. And I'm a very resilient person, but that pushed me over the edge that, I just shut down.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been in situations where we work so hard and your brain just stops. Everything stops. So I had to resign. I took 7 months off, right?
Yeah.
And for an A-type personality, it was very shocking to me.
Yeah. You're sitting there like, what
And even if you have the money, you're still going crazy.
Yeah, I just felt like I'm a failure, right?
Yeah.
But it actually hit me so hard. First 2 months out of the workforce, I was super quiet. So if you guys saw me then and you had a drink with me, you'd be like, what's wrong with him? He doesn't talk. He's such a shell. So I just picked myself up, started to travel. You take yourself out of the situation. It's very important to do that. And then I go, well, I've always wanted to do comedy. So tried out for an open mic and then started from there. One thing led to another.
Which year was that?
I was 2013, the end of 2013.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
We started around the same time, actually. I started also October 2013. It's my first open mic.
Very good.
That's very cool.
How did you burn out from your previous job? Did you have like this 7 months
No, I
vacation?
had a different situation because I had just moved to Shanghai and I was just kind of trying to find my footing there.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to find something to do.
Yeah.
And then hanging out with a friend one night, I told him kind of similar. Actually, I like stand-up comedy, but I never lived in a place that had a live comedy because I lived in Cairo, Dubai, and Northeast China.
Yeah.
None of these cities, at the time at least, had any stand-up scene.
Yeah.
So I never seen it live even. And he's like, oh, they have the comedy club here. That's Kung Fu Comedy that ended up partnering up with Andy with later. But he's like, yeah, go check out the open mic. And I went, and I was just at the end, I was just felt brave enough. They always say, like, we're looking for new talent. I'm like, I'll sign up. And then I signed up for the week after. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, everyone's got their own original
Actually,
story.
I signed up because it was right before the Golden Week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to go on holiday after that. If I tank, I was just going to go and
no one will see
reassess
me.
my life
Yeah.
during the week.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, though, just how scary it was.
Oh, I was so scared.
Do you remember the first time you had a proper show? Because like I can give you an example. My first time was actually in the comedy competition, and I remember it was a Saturday night. We had like the prelims or finals, and I was like freaking out the whole day. I just woke up. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like why would I put myself in this situation? So like the whole day I'm just lying in bed, going like, oh, well, hi, just counting down. The show's like, let's say in 12 hours, I'm like just just count down for 13 hours. I'll be done after that.
And you're getting the shits as well.
Yeah, I'm just losing my mind. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Why would I even do this? What's the point? Who are these people? Why'd I have to entertain them? Do you remember that day?
I don't think it was. I don't know if it was a specific day, but I remember when I got to do my first bigger show, and it was with Jim Brewski, and they called it the BJ show, right? Ben and Jim, and that was
very clever.
Yeah, Jim did about 25-minute spot, and I did a 40, but I was 8 months in college.
Oh my God.
So I was really pulling out, and trying to put it together. But I look back on it now, and it's horrendous. But I thought it was a great opportunity.
But so that's a necessary step you have to get out of the comfort zone. That's something a lot of times comedians get used to, a certain zone, like they're used to their set, or I do 10 minutes every time, I'm good, I don't have to worry about it. But when you only have 25 minutes or 30 minutes of material, and you have to do 40, you're like, man, I got to get creative real fast.
Yeah.
And that pushes you. Once you hit that 40, and you're like, wait, I can do this? Hey, nothing's going to scare me anymore. Give me an hour and let's see whatever happens with that, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen you do long shows, and the one thing I respect in the sense of that you're calm on stage. Like sometimes, as much as I might be doing my show, but actually I'm freaking out in my head. I'm like, oh God, what's the next bit? So I have that. But you're just, okay, I'll take my time. No problem. Does that translate because of the work you do with all these people? And so you're on stage, you're like, you guys are not even CEOs. Who the hell are you people?
Well, no, not at all. I don't look at the audience like you're not relating to me on the same level. When I get in the comedy stage, I'm not a CEO.
No, I mean the stress, the pressure. You're like, I guess if you're dealing with a whole bunch of top level CEOs, you're like, okay, I better bring it. But with an audience, you're like, what are you gonna do? You can't fire me.
I think it's my mindset, to be honest. Like when I get up on stage, I'm thinking, well, everyone's here to have fun.
Yeah.
If I'm nervous, I'll show it. And no one likes a nervous comic.
Yeah.
You can pull it off once or twice and make a joke about how nervous you are, but you can't do that for the whole show.
Yeah.
So for me, I try and translate nerves into excitement.
Yeah.
Because the adrenaline hit that you get from being nervous is the same as excitement.
Yeah.
You just have to funnel it in the right way.
Yeah.
So when I get up there, and that's why when I have a longer show, I feel really at peace, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't have to think, how do I, Mo's going to shine the light, at 2 and be like, get off.
Yeah.
Here you're like, I'll take my time.
Yeah, I'll just take my time, and everyone's here to have fun, and I'll read the room and play the set and material and crowd work as I think it will work.
Because I think that's the transition and progress and development I saw. So initially, when I first saw you on stage, it was a lot of the general Asian lifestyle, that kind of story, the mom and everything. And it was very often something that you would be like, you know what? I'm sure the next guy would probably have something similar story as well. So initially I was not really too impressed. I'm like, okay, he's doing the basic stuff, the Russell Peters kind of style. But over time I was like, wait a second, this guy's now getting a different footing. It's no longer he's just doing those kind of jokes that every new comic would do. Because I was like, well, he is a new comic, so who am I to judge him, right? And now you develop a style where, like I said, it's like a Ben Quinlan signature thing where I see you on stage and you're doing your stuff. It may not, in my opinion, be the most original or creative if necessary, but it's that's a Ben Quinlan signature show, And I think that's what's important. Did you have a moment when you realized, hey, this is my style, or have you found it, or are you still looking for that Ben Quinlan signature style?
Well, I know my style is just generally bringing a certain kind of energy and persona on stage.
Yeah.
But then the style is what's your sense of humor?
Yeah.
For me, I always try and push myself. There's a lot of stuff that I've maybe done once or twice on stage and then said, should I bring that back? But, I'm going to go to a show tonight and I'll probably do another 15 of material that people haven't seen. But I know I can do it. For me, it's just about pushing yourself. It goes to your point. I don't think anything's off limits. I don't think there's any kind of comedy that I can't do or shouldn't be able to try out. I obviously don't have deadpan humor. I don't have other kinds of humor. I'm not the comical kind of, the slapstick
super physical
style.
or something like that.
For me, it's just about, I want the audience to hear the content of the material and then get it, right? In the classic style, this is good stand-up writing. If you have to relate it back to older style thoughts about what comedy is, right? Yeah.
Okay. So that was a process. But then have you so I don't want to dive too much into just comedy because again, we've been doing comedy all the time, but I'm very curious to find how has comedy in return affected the way you do business? Has it influenced the way you actually take your QuinlanandAssociates.com That's the website, right? Quinlan and Associates. I just want to make sure. I'm like, I didn't refer to another website. I'm like, oh, that's a different brand. I'm sorry, that's not you. Oh crap.
There's another one. It's a real estate agent in Connecticut that works out of the shabby house. So when we released the report, it went all over Reddit. Look at these guys and where their office is. I was like, what is this firm?
So what is their website?
Quinlan Associates. And
so there is no end?
No.
All right, you're welcome, guys.
Because the difference is that company is just the associates of Quinlan. Yeah. This is Quinlan and the associates. You see the difference there? Hey, are we having shark fin soup tonight? Hey.
So how does it influence my corporate life?
Yes.
Huge level of confidence, understanding and reading people much, much better.
Yeah.
I generally think that as a comedian, like comedians generally have very high EQ, right? And thinking on the spot and being able to interpret what does that emotion mean. And I think it's the purest form of democracy in the world because it's live in real time.
Yeah.
If you can't pick up on those cues, because communication, there's 7% that comes from what you say. Yeah. And then 30-something% from how you say it. About 55 is your body language. Yeah. Right? And that being a good communicator is not just how you say it, it's reading the other way. A lot of people think good communicators are people who are just great speakers.
Yeah.
I'm like, not at all. You have to pay attention to the audience and really read them well.
Yeah.
And I think that being on stage in comedy really allows you to do that at a grand scale. And then when you take it into a boardroom, you notice a lot of nuances that people have where you can pivot and direct the conversation in a different direction. And I think that's a really, really good thing that I picked up from comedy. And you push that skill even further.
Yeah. Switching gears a bit, and a very general question about your line of work. What is the state of Hong Kong economy right now, and where does it go? I know it's a very general question, but I'm intrigued about how you're thinking. Where are we heading?
I think Hong Kong is extremely bifurcated. But when you talk about the economy,
I don't know what that word means.
I go Google it. I'm like,
You're talking to two comedians, not to CEOs.
Right. So I think it's splintered in two different.
Oh yeah, I know that word.
Oh, you could have said that, man. That was
sorry,
this is such corporate talk, man. You can imagine the report.
Very douchey of him.
So you feel your company splintered. Like, we're not paying $1 million for that
Trust
report.
me, I've been pressing right click on Word and then synonyms, and I'm like bifurcated. Way cooler than split.
Oh man, I'd love to go to like split or splintered.
Well, kind of mean the same.
Man, I'm gonna go to the hospital.
By the way, he could have literally said divided.
Bifurcated is specific to splinting off in two different directions.
I'm gonna totally go to the hospital.
Well, in any case, I love this. We need to bust out a thesaurus, right? But in any way, I generally think that the Hong Kong economy is like on two-track kind of speed. So you've got financial services, digital economy, e-commerce, anything that benefits from the push to digital is benefiting immensely. And then you have Main Street, which is the health and fitness coaches, the freelance workers, the restaurants, the stand-up comedians. It was the hotel industry as well, and F&B slammed, right? And I have a lot of friends in that industry that got badly hurt.
All the analog personal stuff,
Yeah. So, how do you view the economy? It's very hard to view it in isolation because the impact of COVID hasn't been a general widespread depression of the economy. Some people have increased their wealth by insurmountable volumes, right? There's a lot of people that used to bet
enough with the big words, by the way.
Have grown wealth a lot. They have way more money, Mo. So I'll lower this to whatever level we need.
It's like, all right, hold on, man.
I know people that
money. People make many money.
But
many of the monies.
But I know people, for example, that were punting on cryptos back at the start of 2020, and maybe people had a chuckle. There was one thing, have you heard of the cryptocurrency called Dogecoin?
Yeah.
Right? It's a joke, but there are people that made several 1,000% return on investing in this because they thought it was cute.
Yeah.
So we're laughing at that, and you've seen, like, obviously the wealthier have not been impacted by this crisis all around the world. They've gotten extremely wealthy.
I guess also if you have enough disposable income to put into a joke cryptocurrency in the first place, you're already well off. You don't put in, let's say, 5,000 US because it's half of your savings, do you?
I know some people that have punted like that.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
I've just gone, you know what, $5,000 US is not going to do anything for me now. I may as well just throw it in there.
And you had, let's say, 10,000 in their savings.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's a huge risk.
Oh, huge. But that's where the disenfranchisement comes from. If you look at what happens, the big thing, if I'm looking back to an economic perspective, central banks around the world just press print on money.
Yeah.
They just printed trillions of dollars all around the world. They lowered interest rates. So the cost of money, the cost of cash, is worth shit, right? You're not going to put it in the bank. And what happens? Like everyone talks about inflation, but general goods and services that we buy, I haven't seen too much inflation, but it's asset inflation. It's property. It's collectibles. It's all these things that people, and this is the main challenge, like you want a roof over your head in this town, forget it, right? And all that money eventually seeps down to the economy into assets because people want to own assets because holding cash is worth nothing.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't grow, basically, right?
No.
That's with cash itself.
And if you look at FinTech, there are some kind of, more ethical considerations around, there's new business models coming out like payday loans, buy now, pay later, everything now. Buy it now, get it now, worry about it later. The credit boom has been phenomenal. And it's very easy to offer people credit when you're paying 0.3%, 1% interest.
Right.
It's nothing. So people are like bringing forward their consumption, putting that debt to a later date, but eventually the debt has to be paid.
Yeah.
By whom?
Because you get those ads in Hong Kong all over the place. It's super convenient to borrow money here, like to the point.
I get the scam calls all the time.
Oh,
I mean, I'm not sure if they're a scam or not, but I get these calls all the time. It was like, obviously, I don't speak any Cantonese. I always go like, hello, and they switch, like they didn't know I'm a foreigner.
Yeah.
And you always hear it for like 2 seconds, and then they don't know what to say, and they go, borrow money? I'm like, I'm like, no.
Yep.
Yeah. See, because I think that's also the new mentality now is that the idea is that you're never going to be able to afford a house. You're never going to be able to afford the stuff. So you might as well just enjoy life and worry about it later. Because that's what I'm finding a lot of times, like when I go to universities and let's say I'm a guest speaker or whatever, and I'm talking to them about their future and all that stuff. And they're like, you know what? I don't really see a future for myself. I'm like, is that confidence issue? They're like, no, it's just, I dream of a future, but I can't afford it.
But they're realistic, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it, right? So you go join one of the prestigious Big Four accounting firms.
Yeah.
What's your starting salary as a graduate?
I'm guessing 8,000 Hong Kong.
Well, it's 15,000.
All right, I'm halfway there. They conned me.
Yeah.
They totally conned me.
But what you going to do in Hong Kong with 15 grand?
Yeah.
I mean, if you live with your parents, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
Right?
You can put away a lot of that money. But
because you don't pay rent, which is, for most expats, is the biggest expense they have, right?
Yeah.
So you're forgetting Hong Kong parents. They have this thing called gayong, which means basically like home money. It's like, you want to live with us now? You're making money. You better start paying me.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you have that thing. So of course it goes by parent from parent, right? Some parents are cool, like a few $1,000. Some parents are like, half your salary, please.
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, the idea is that now it's your turn to give back to the family, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, but like you said, 15,000. Even if you were like pocketing all 15, like even if we did the math and you pocketed $50,000 just to get a proper apartment in Hong Kong, you got to spend $0 every month for I don't know how many years before you can even do the down payment, let alone like have your own flat.
That's right. And because that objective is now so far out of reach for the next generation, they've diverted to the digital universe. You guys have heard of NFTs?
Yeah, I've heard.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and like, let me break it down for you. These are basically digital art forms, collectibles, music, whatever it is, that you put it on the blockchain, and by virtue of that, it's one of a kind.
Yes.
And it becomes scarce. So I have challenges around conceptualizing this coming from the background and training that I do.
You're more traditional, I would say.
I am, but I'm open to being changed. The bottom line is I know it's going to boom. It's here to stay. There's no question about it. Whether I agree with it is a different concept. I used to collect basketball cards as a kid.
Right.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
They're worth a fortune. But there was a concept of scarcity, right? Because they were a limited number. You had to get them in a certain condition. But now you're in the digital world. Digital copies of things are infinitely replicable at exactly the same quality.
Yeah.
So by virtue of ascribing this particular one is on a blockchain, Jack Dorsey's tweet, and it's now worth over $2 million for someone to say that, it's a bragging right. It's whatever. But you look at the way that this is evolving. Kids are buying digital land, digital art, digital everything.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you're buying a digital plot of land.
Yeah, it's a virtual thing. You can't really.
It exists on your phone.
Yeah.
Right? But there's huge amounts of value being ascribed to this because their view is, well, it's almost like they escape their reality, which is the virtual world, to go into this escape land, which is the real world. It's completely flipped.
Yeah. I mean, this also makes me feel like a lot of comedians in Hong Kong and in the world also use their jokes as NFTs because it's super scarce. When they have punchlines, they're like, hey, one of these is going to be funny.
Yeah.
And when it's going to be worth $2 million, people. But okay, coming back to the whole digital virtual world, I think the new generation growing up in this world of virtual digital stuff, it no longer, like, okay, so real simple. When you read books, right, there's a certain feeling of reading a paperback in your hand versus like a Kindle, right?
Yep.
And I've tried it. I've done the Kindle thing. I have an actual like hardware Kindle thing, and I'm like, I don't enjoy the book for some reason. I need that flip. I want to feel that I'm halfway there.
This is very telling of our age, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
because I feel exactly the same.
And that's what I find strange is because like the new generation does not have the same problem.
Correct.
Not because they don't have the same feelings, but because they were never brought up.
That's right.
And that's why NFTs and everything make sense. They're like, why do I have to touch it? Why do I have to see it? And so that's why I find that people are buying into this concept of everything being virtual, crypto, this and that. Like, I don't need to touch the coin. I don't need to touch the notes. It's there. It's there. And for me, I always feel like, but this is at the end of you need like the device to access the data. It's kind of like saying you have this brilliant idea on a floppy disk. If you don't have a drive to read it, you're like, but that's pointless. It's there, but it's not there.
Anyone under 25 is like, what's a floppy disk?
Exactly. Okay. So let's go back to something more up to date. CD-ROM.
Also, any new laptop now doesn't even have a CD-ROM anymore.
No,
you don't. That's why whenever you buy like really crappy hardware and they give you a CD, you're like, this is shit. This definitely.
But that's the thing. Like digital is the pace of disruption is insane. It's so fast. You look at the big companies, Kodak, right? It's a number one market share in the world in the camera space. Went bankrupt. And then Blockbuster. Right? Go hire the video out. Nokia. BlackBerry. All of these business, MySpace, even when it started as the first social media
platform. Just falling like flies, basically.
And this is what happens, the speed of disruption, the speed of change. And this is why companies that don't adapt die super fast. And it's not like, it's a slow 10-year death. It's like you can go out of business in a year. You'll be done.
Wow.
But would you say then that's what I mean? Like the future is all in the virtual space, not the physical space. People don't seem to respect that physicality. Like, for example, real simple. You tell a new generation person, come watch a live comedy show. To a lot of people, it's just like, what's the difference? Like watching it online and live, it's I don't see the difference. I'm like, you need to be there.
Because I've never felt that magic of being in the room close to the comedian.
And also, it's a common thing that my life is all about watching my screen. So I'm happy with that level of engagement versus reality. So again, like when I talk to kids in university and I'm talking about investments and everything, basically just general chit chat. I don't know much about this, but they're actually more interested in making investments such as stocks and everything where they can't touch it, say in their virtual bank account, versus actually having like a car park space or a flat. Because to them, they're like, well, that's easy. I can get it now. I'd rather invest there and just live my parents the rest of my life. Do you see that trend in the new generation that everything physical is no longer important to them?
Yeah, well, I think as well when you're stacking up the numbers, right? So did you hear that case of GameStop?
Like, yes, of course.
Right. So it's like the whole Reddit community taking it and socking it to Wall Street.
Right.
But look, when people are seeing the millions that people are generating overnight, and social media perpetuates this, because there are people that become very wealthy from making big bets, or you can buy a car park and earn a yield of 1.5%. Right? So, and there is a sense of brick and mortar safety that comes from having lived our lives and being the age we are. But that doesn't apply to the next gen, right? And that's why everything, it's all heavy consumption driven. Our generation, I don't know if you had the same experience, but if I wanted to buy something, it would be save up for it.
Right.
I've never, ever had credit card debt. I just automatically pay it off.
It's like you use it as your debit card.
I use it for points.
I don't spend it unless I have it. I just use the credit card to get the points.
That's it. That's exactly what we do.
I mean, I remember there's this one incident. It's like Australians are obsessed with debt. Now, I was back in the gym one day, and I was in the sauna. It's not that kind of story, but there was.
I'm just like, why do we need this information?
Why did I have to actually give you the details? I could have just said we're on the street.
I could imagine you had a big conference, so I'm at a sauna, everybody.
So I was in a sauna.
You care about honesty.
I was wearing a towel, and there was a guy who overheard my accent. And he goes, he's English. And he goes, mate, you Australian? And I go, yeah. And he goes, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? And I go, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you go and buy a toaster, and you pay it off over 10 years, right? And I kind of had a chuckle. And I went, yeah, you're kind of right. You know, he goes, just buy the fucking toaster. Now, I remember when I went back to Australia, I've got a couple of mates earning very good money. They're in senior positions. And I phoned up one and I said, do you want to go out and grab a drink? Oh, mate, can't. I bought a microwave, so I have no money. And I go, you earn hundreds of thousands of Australian dollars a year, and you have no money. Because when I look at the consumption, leverage to the max with the house, bought the car on credit, everything is maxed out. And it's just a way of life.
Right. So everything that is coming in is paying already for the loans.
100%. And because the property price keeps rising, well, I've got equity, right? I'm wealthier on paper. Now, Asia has been slower to catch up, but you can see that trend is now starting to push here. It was much more of a Western
And hence the cause of, do you want to borrow money?
100%.
Would you go on.
Yeah, go for it.
No, like, because what I'm noticing as well, like you said, the trend is everybody feels that I'm never going to be able to pay it up anyway, so I might as well enjoy life now. Do you feel that is actually worldwide or just happening more like following? I mean, honestly, in Hong Kong, more and more kids that I know of are getting credit cards, not because they can afford it, because it's just there. And in university, you see all the credit cards, going there trying to get people with credit cards. It's also like a face thing of like, oh, I got a credit card. Look at you. What did you get? So would you find that is a worldwide issue now?
I think it's a global phenomenon, but there's just differences in how acute it is between different countries. So Hong Kong is at the maximum end of that scale in terms of what I would say is that divorce between what I think I can achieve and do versus just the reality of a situation.
I just let everybody know.
You think it's really extreme here?
I think, look, I mean, I earn a good income. I consider myself very comfortable, but I look at what can I afford?
Right.
What can I afford? Even as someone that you would on paper say you're successful. If I want to go out and buy a 1,200 square foot apartment, I've got to put my hand in my pocket for $30 million. Right? And I'm like, I just don't have that cash on me. And the bank won't lend me that. And if I want to upgrade my place, guess what? I have to sell my place because I can't own a second property. So, and I'm not crying about it. Don't get me wrong.
Right. But you're using it for perspective as well.
Perspective
if you have to make that calculation, think of the person who's earning 15,000 Hong Kong dollars.
I used to work in the investment banks with people earning a lot of money. And they would rent because their view is, what can I buy?
Right.
And I remember one of them was there 8 years, very successful. And she goes, I finally bought a place, 500 square foot, and I can live with my mom and dad. And I was thinking, that's what you saved up for all this time.
That's your goal.
That was it.
Oh my God.
That was sad to me.
That actually brings me back to the final one key point with Hong Kong's economy. So initially with the protests and everything, the government was kind of blaming this on the fact that, housing issues, there's no housing and everything. And sure, that is one of the issues why everyone's so upset. That definitely is, because like when you talk to a lot of youngsters, their whole goal is like, what do you tell me to dream? Well, someone had said a really good quote where they said, I don't even have a bed to dream on. What do you tell me about chasing dreams for? Like, I can't afford a bed.
Depressing.
Right? When you think, I'm like, damn, that hurts. But it's true. Now, however, what I find is that because of that mentality, people are no longer even thinking about the housing issue, and they've just accepted that, as you said, I've got my 500 square foot apartment and with my parents, and that's the norm now. That's the goal. That's the dream. Would you say that it's the lack of perspective? Because I mean, let's be honest, this is an issue in Hong Kong a lot. If you went somewhere else, you could probably get like a mansion for whatever money that we're spending over a small flat over here. Would you find that? Do you think it will help if people get a perspective on the fact that is Hong Kong the place you want to be in versus because of the housing issues, or do you feel that people just have this mentality because that's what we are?
Well, I think a lot of people understand it, but the reality is it basically seeps into every single part of the next generation's life because it's the instant gratification generation, right? You can binge on anything. You can sit at home and just press a button and then food will be at your door. I mean, these are generations that don't have patience, don't know how to wait.
Marshmallow test will fail completely.
Yeah, and look, I hire youngsters and new graduates all the time, and I think some of them are fantastic. There's no question. But there is a certain degree of impatience that has come through in generations because they're surrounded by it. It's impossible to escape it.
You get the answer online, bam, right now. There's no research. There's this.
Oh, look, you were asking before the show about LinkedIn. Look at my LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Now, I guarantee you all of these young grads can go on LinkedIn, and then guess what? The optics are, look at all my friends who are founders, CEOs, startup owners, right? There is an inherent pressure that's put in your face every single day around comparing yourself to other people, and it's very unhealthy. I think we're in like the most unhappy generation ever, despite the fact that the world in general is that it's the best time to live, right?
Right, yeah. For convenience, for age expectancy as well, for a lot of factors, a lot of metrics say that we're actually at the best time
crime,
to live.
poverty, hell, you name it. The best time in human history to live.
Right.
But probably the most unhappy. Right?
Yeah, which is ironic, right?
You know what I'm unhappy about?
Yeah.
Patreon. Subscribe to the Patreon. For fuck's sake, it's $5. Actually, on the Patreon, I want to talk to you about the exodus that is happening, whether it's among expats or companies in Hong Kong. I have been here for 2 years, and I can see it in a very short amount of time. A lot of companies, a lot of people who I talk to who were planning to just be here forever, 20 years, 30 years, and now packing up and leaving. So on the Patreon, I want to get your perspective on that. Why is that happening, especially for companies? And what does the fucked up politics, for lack of better words, that are happening in Hong Kong for the last 2 years have to do with that? So tune in for the Patreon. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. That was awesome.
No problem.